Welcome back to Deadzone. I'm Tyler, and today I am going to show you guys some of the things I did to change my terrain from feeling like it was outside Fringe World stuff to inner city, middle cyberpunk kind of style terrain. So at its core, my terrain didn't change that much. I changed some layouts of some different things, and then I added a whole bunch of accessories. That's really the trick to changing the feel of your terrain. Also of note, I had this big building. I'll put it on screen right now. I fell in love with an old picture that I saw when they were releasing the Industrial Battlezone stuff, and I saw this big building and I absolutely loved it. I thought it looked like a lot of fun to play on. So I built it and I had it and I played on it in several of our battle reports. But it was a lot of investment in terms of how many tiles and how many cubes it would take up, and then, you know, the issue with having a building that big is, yes, it's really cool, but also it's the same every time. And one of my philosophies around my terrain has always been that I like to have things kind of modular, so that, you know, if I have one building, I can put this other building on top of it, and just kind of create new structures and things that all kind of make sense. I definitely lean towards not having paintball style terrain where there's lots of just, you know, partial angles and things like that. I do recommend, however, if you're starting the game out, to have kind of paintball style terrain and not have full buildings everywhere, especially if having terrain is an issue. As you kind of collect a bigger collection, you want to add and change things. This is still my favorite way to play. I still really enjoy having mostly full buildings that have, you know, line of sights through them, so like there's things like windows and, you know, everywhere. But the actual ability to see full functional looking buildings really puts me into the world. And when I see lots of, you know, right angles and things like that, I understand that from a gameplay perspective, but I really think that it really helps to make a really cool looking table to have full buildings. So with all that being said, I wanted to take apart my big, gigantic, beautiful industrial complex building thing. It's already been on the channel plenty. If I ever wanted to go back to it, I could. That's the amazing thing about this terrain, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You heard it here first. I have never once glued my terrain. There's like maybe a grand total of 3 or 4 pieces that I've ever glued, and that's out of necessity. Not because I wanted to. You know, things like the landing pad, and like there's a few things where it's like, alright, that's never gonna move, it's not gonna change. But like that giant building that I showed you, I literally just sat there with a golf tee and poked out all the connectors and then reassembled all my terrain, just like Lego. I didn't repaint anything. That's the best part. I had this big thing that was painted, and then here I am with a bunch of little buildings, and I didn't have to paint anything. You can definitely disassemble and reassemble your terrain however you see fit, whenever you see fit. And honestly, it's been a huge breath of fresh air. It's gonna change up my game. It's gonna change up my gameplay, because no longer will I have that same building. Because once you kind of get used to the quirks of that big building, you know how to play around them, you know how to climb up in the certain spots, yada yada. So enough of me rambling. Let me show you what I've actually made here, and all the steps that I've done to create a cyberpunk world rather than the outer Fringe world, you know, scientific depot kind of feel or industrial complex feel. So let's just jump into the kind of buildings I created, and hopefully you guys get some inspiration, and especially when I get to the accessory stuff, because that's the stuff I'm really proud of. Let's go! Another quick thing you can do if you have something similar, I have the terrain mat, which it's a nice neoprene mat, but it's from Battle Systems, and it was the one that came with the Battle System stuff. That's the cardboard terrain. You can see some, I think we did at least one battle report on this mat. However, it wasn't gridded out, so something that was really easy that I did, just to turn this into Deadzone friendly, is I just took a Sharpie and made a grid. And this is already sort of a gridded mat, so it doesn't look unnatural really, but this definitely helps sell the whole effect. Plus, I really like the design of this mat. It's very cyberpunk, it's very spaceship, and so that was a big step in changing the whole feel of the terrain. Not to say that you can't have cyberpunk stuff in other environments, but obviously the classic, you know, lights and wires and just busy obnoxiousness really sells the effect as well. So as you can see, I decided to change that big building into basically 5 smaller buildings. This one actually was separate, so I guess I changed it into 4 buildings. I just took off, I had walkways going around this one, but it was kind of gameplay unfriendly because then models that were underneath couldn't climb up because there was a big walkway blocking their way up. And so this is just a kind of vertical cube sort of setup that is very versatile. It can go on top of anything. And that's one of the goals that I had with this terrain rebuild, is that basically I wanted all the stuff to be more modular, similar fashion to my older stuff. Over here, like you can see, I've got the, you know, some 2x2s and some 1x2s and that kind of thing. So they all play really well with each other. So I wanted to switch the feel and then create some other stuff. So what I elected to do was build one big, tall sniper tower kind of construct, using obviously all the same tiles. But I wanted to build something that looked functional and was really cool gameplay-wise. I still really enjoy the 3D aspect of Deadzone. That's still my favorite thing about the game. And so I wanted to make sure that I built some terrain that was very, you know, 3D in that sense. So as you can see, this is a very, it's a pretty tall building. It's 3 cubes tall, but it can also be stacked on top of other stuff, and it sits pretty well. So it's a very flexible piece, but basically it's got an open side, and then it's got the outer side. However, it's littered with windows and the ceiling fan thing, and then I wanted to make sure that all the ladders and things like that made sense. So if somebody was to walk in here, they could use, you know, either one of these ladders to actually access the points that they would be going on to. One of the things that I, you know, always like to think about is how would this function in actuality? And so I initially just had this kind of central cube, and I decided it was a little bit boring. So I wanted to add a little bit of overhang. So I created this little balcony sort of area, and then this top-notch area too. So this is really accessible for other bridges and things like that. So when you do have other terrain pieces and bridges, they can sit on this top part, and it's a very gameplay-friendly, tall tower kind of cube. So I've been playing Deadzone for a long time, and for the longest possible time, this has been my favorite piece that I've had. This is one of the first ones I built, but it's very, very versatile. It's got a door over here, a window on the other side, and I really like this 2x1 structure. It really lends itself very well to putting other things on top of it, or putting this on top of other things, and so I wanted to recreate that, and I wanted more of those. So what I did is I built these 3 shaped in the same fashion sort of thing. So these can obviously be stacked on top of each other to create different sort of things, but one of the goals that I had when creating this particular structure is that I wanted to have the versatility of making it look like either a closed big building, like, so I can make another, you know, 4x or 2x2 sort of square grid kind of thing. Again, the name of the game is all versatility. And then also I can have these kind of shop front looking items. And I'll show you when I get the accessories out how cool this can look when you start putting furniture in there. And then my other piece that I made was just kind of a similar style. This one's very open because it's got lots of those, you know, cross X style tiles. And so that means that you get lots of angles to shoot through. You can shoot through it. I have the doors you can put on as well if you really wanted to block it off, or you can keep it open. So again, lots of versatility. Something I was pretty proud of on this structure was the use of the pipe. So I kind of left it open-ended, and that is to keep lots of different ways I can use this piece. So I've also got this pipe structure. If anyone else wants to build this, feel free to steal this idea. If you've got this on the ground level, you can simply attach like this shaped pipe to it, and it looks totally natural, like it's coming out of the ground. However, this is where I'm really happy with it, is if this is on the second level, if you just turn this one sideways like this, it's the same height as a cube, and so it'll fit in there. It's just really hard to do with one hand, but you'll get the point. Basically, it sits there and it looks again, perfectly natural, or like it totally makes sense. And that's pretty important to me, especially for building really cool worlds. It's the same reason that I built, I don't know if I've ever showed this on the channel, but I'm sure it's been in many battle reports. This little cube is basically designed specifically for the industrial pipes and stuff. So basically it can sit on a two cube high stack, and then it can have the pipe going all the way down, or you can, you know, have it more versatile like this. Again, having it go into the ground like that, and you know, it just looks natural anywhere you put it, which is the whole goal of the whole project, basically. So with all the restructuring stuff out of the way, it was time to move on to accessories. And boy, did I have fun doing more accessories. I've had the stuff from Star Saga since I had Star Saga, and I've never touched any of the scenery things, and I felt awful about it. So let's kind of start there, and then we'll move our way into the signs and the other cool stuff. This is the stuff that comes with battle zones, and I decided, you know, some of the stuff I painted a long time ago, and some of this I just recently painted. And I decided that really bright colors look really good on these boxes and barrels and things like that. I stole a couple ideas from the new Mantic CYBERPUNK street accessory thing that's coming out. And so I kind of scrolled through those and just kind of took some ideas for some of the boxes and things like that. I think this one reminds me of Jigglypuff, which is kind of funny. But yeah, basically just trying to give these a little bit of character and then add some of that neon feel. As I said, I'll get over to the signs in a second, but this goes a long way in terms of adding just a little bit more of that bright color flair and some of that lived-in environment. So most of these are from battle zones. Some of the stuff is from Star Saga, so I think all of these are from Star Saga. Obviously the desk and things like that are from Star Saga as well. And that is the kind of stuff that you can put into structures like these, and it'll really make it look like a shop front and make it look like a real place, which is really, really fun to fight in. Now that I've actually done one battle report, I think that's the way to go, is just pimp this thing out with as many accessories as I can, just to make it feel as cluttered and real as possible. And for a long time I've had like the generators, I just haven't, you know, painted them. So I painted this one nice and blue. Again, I didn't really, you know, it's not like painting a miniature where you gotta really focus on all the details and do all the stuff to the highest degree of, you know, skill. So I just kind of painted, you know, bright colors just to make them look a little bit more interesting and pop a little bit more. And they do look a lot better. And, you know, it's not like they're the focus of any given table, but they do add quite a bit. I don't know if this isn't a Kickstarter exclusive thing. I think this is one of the objectives in Star Saga, but I thought this was a really cool little briefcase with the vial of neon whatever it is. Also, I'm genuinely curious. This is a cool piece that came with the industrial battle zone stuff. It was kind of fun to paint, but I don't understand how it's supposed to fasten onto any terrain. I mean, I know I could obviously just glue it, but I don't want to limit my options in terms of modularity. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it a word. So lately I've just been kind of putting it on, you know, on a cube just to give it a little bit more 3D feel, but I don't know how to get it to like stick on a wall or anything. I don't know if that's the intention, so if anybody knows, please comment, because I actually genuinely want to know if there's a cool purpose for these other than just gluing them on. Okay, let's talk about signs. So, as you can see in the Mantic new terrain kit, there's lots of signs. However, I don't have that kit yet, and I didn't want to wait. So, I created a bunch of signs, and they were actually really easy to do, and they basically just used a bunch of bits that I had laying around. So technically speaking, this is all 100% Mantic stuff, because these are Dreadball bases. I thought they looked like a really cool shape for a neon sign, and I was looking at neon signs for other war games and things like that online, and they were just really expensive, and I decided, yeah, I could probably do that, but cheaper and easier. So basically what I did is just looked up some Japanese and Chinese characters and stuff like that, kind of got the basic brushstroke feel to it, and then I just kind of started going wild. So some of these are actual characters, and some of these are just total BS that I just created. I'm sure people who know the languages will know the ones that are real and which ones aren't, but it was just a lot of fun. Basically, all I did to really create that neon feel is paint the outsides a bright color. So just paint the outside, and then paint straight up freehand on the middle part, and it's actually really not hard to do at all. So really quick, really easy. So this one still has a section of the sprue on there, which if I would have known, I would have tried to keep more of them like this, because I think this one attaches some of the best. And then basically I just took a connector, or some of these I clipped off of things like this, because I can only have so many walkway protectors and things like that. And so I just clipped it off and glued it on there, and now it just sticks into buildings, which is pretty great. So yeah, going down the line, I just kind of did that on all of them. Obviously these are from the 90-degree angle ones. I just shaved off a couple just so there's only one connection point, and then those just stick in. This is another one of these, I believe, yeah. So I just trimmed it, cut it, sliced it. These are actually two bases. I haven't figured out a cool thing to put on the back yet, but I made this cool little cheeseburger sign. Pretty happy with that. I've got a plastic tray that has a dividing sections, and this is one of the divider sections that you stick in there, and I thought that'd be a really cool sign, so I just put that on one of these 90-degree angle things. Once you have battle zones, you'll have like a million of these little 90-degree angle things, and this is a cool way to use it. And this is actually one of my favorite signs. If I can find my container that has these separators, I might make more of these, because I really like the way this sign looks. And so obviously just going from there, I just made different shapes using the hexagons, and then just kind of painted them up, and just changed up the colors just to make them look like they're all different businesses, all trying to promote something different. Pretty sure this one means ramen in Japanese. I'm sure Tim would correct me, but I think that's what that is. But yeah, once the signs are actually in, and I'll do a cool, setup, because I can't help it. Once I get all the toys out, I gotta make a board. Once I kind of do that, you can see just how much those signs add and how cool that is. Now this lamppost structure is something that I've had for a long time. I just finally painted a little bit on the actual light parts. And then I think one of the really cool things that I would like to do someday is hopefully kit this out with actual LEDs and have it actually shine. I would love to play a game in the dark where the only light source is coming from in-world lights. That would be a dream come true. I don't really have the LED experience or anything even close to that right now, but YouTube is a thing, and hopefully I can learn that someday. This is a really interesting idea I had. Basically, this is just utilizing pieces from the bottom part is from the landing pad. Those are the little legs that it comes with. I have lots of extras. And then this is two more lampposts that I just trimmed off and then painted neon. And the goal of this is to kind of sit on top of things as either kind of a communications thing, or hopefully someday, but I ran out of lampposts. I'm going to make another one or two, and then I'll be able to maybe attach like guitar strings and have those be like hanging telephone wire, kind of just busy wireness. I don't know how actually gameplay friendly that would be, but I know it would look awesome. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but I think it'd be really cool looking. I like that this adds just a bit of just strange tech feel, and just the bright colors really are what sell it, the whole thing. And then there's perhaps my crowning achievement, my favorite thing that I built. So here we have my two designs for little food huts, and I am in love with these. So yeah, this one is actually a better one to try to copy yourself. This one still needs a little bit of tweaking. I think it's a little bit too tall on the bottom parts. So if you have a short model, they look really short in there. So I might have to trim that, plus it doesn't sit quite flush, whereas this one does. But yeah, I created a little bar and a little noodle shop, and I created the actual structures and then decided, yeah, I need actually to add some food. Otherwise it just looks very lifeless. It just looks like a countertop. And so I had a stroke of genius, or brilliance, or madness, depending on whatever you want to say what I was feeling at the time. But I created little tiny bowls of ramen, and I cannot be happier with the way these turned out. They look so good. And it was just, I was just doing my terrain, I was just creating a bunch of stuff, I was painting all these signs, and then I just had a great idea. So what I did is I took a pen cap from like a basic, ballpoint pen, and I just sliced it into the shape of a bowl because I needed something that was bowl shaped and I didn't want to sculpt one. The whole point of this is I didn't want to sculpt anything. And so what I did is I just cut that, and then I got a little bowl shape, and then I filled the bowl shape with, this is kind of work in progress, I'm showing you the behind the scenes here. I don't know if anyone's going to have the patience for this, but I made my little noodles, which was actually just made out of trash that I happen to have. My hobby clippers are starting to wear on the grip part, and so all the noodles are just this inner grip piece that was just ripping off of my hobby clippers. And so I just cut those into really small noodle-shaped little strands, jammed them in there, put some dots of super glue in there, and then I added the this is actually just a paint chip, which is where the real true stroke of genius came in, I think, because it looks organic. Like, that looks like a leaf of something. But anyone who has paint pots will have all this buildup on, in the rim, and you usually have to dig it out. And so I just dug out some paint rim stuff, and then just jammed it in there, painted it green, and yeah, I know I painted a paint chip, which is kind of ridiculous, but I didn't have a green that was the right color. And then turned it into a big vegetable-looking thing sticking out, like bok choy or something. And finally, I had the chopsticks, and the chopsticks are actually just the resin supports from Resin Models. I am a hoarder, apparently, because I have a bunch of these, and so what I did is I found the thinnest possible ones that just, could be like sticks, and cut them, jammed them in there, put some super glue, wham bam, thank you ma'am. And that is how I made fantastic little ramen noodle bowls for my cyberpunk terrain. Obviously I did the matching signs. These kind of pinned up pieces over here, those are actually the bases for carotids to insert into dreadball bases. So I just thought that shape was kind of cool and it looked like they were bolted up, so I thought they would be neat little signs. And then the other ones are just bases. And then I had the bar, similar ideas here. I had an old paintbrush cap, one of those things that you put on there to protect your paintbrush, and that's what I made these little cups out of, and then just did a little squiggle of freehand on those. I tried to put some liquid in there. Obviously it dried up, and I'm trying to think of what I could put in there that would look still liquidy, but having it being a different color inside kind of sells the fact that there was once some sort of liquid in there. I filled this up with some green wash for kind of the same idea. So it didn't exactly, stay liquidy looking, but it still looks pretty darn good, especially from tabletop level. It looks exactly like a little cup. And I'm a little bit too proud of these, I'll be honest. I really love the build. I love how creative I got out of just absolutely nowhere. It just struck me, and I was just on a roll. I could not be stopped. So, two of my favorite pieces I've ever made right here. And that leads us into a completed board. Like I said, I put out the toys and I just couldn't stop. I had to build a cool setup and just show off all the little accessories that really sell this thing to make it look really cool. This is a robotic gun shop. You don't even have to have a storefront owner here. The robot servo arm things just will serve you up nice and proper. Obviously I've got the classic ramen hut with places to eat just right next to it. Just a great little food court. And you guys will see another setup that we did when I post my battle report, which is still in editing right now, but hopefully won't take too long. And yeah, just have fun with it, guys. Just make it your own, and don't be afraid to just try wacky stuff and have it work out. That's what I did with these signs, and honestly, I think it just transforms the entire look of Deadzone for me. It's awesome. And it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm going to try to show you with the light just how cool these little shop fronts can look when you put those shelves and tables and things like that in them. It just makes it look like a real place that you could walk into. I mean, I guess that one's got a ceiling fan on the floor, which is a little weird, but suspension of disbelief is still important. So coming around to this back side over here, This is another piece of terrain that I just kind of touched up. I just added some of that neon color to it. This right here. Just a little bit of color. I painted this terminal. That's still one of the things I still have to do. I need to complete my Star Saga terminals. It's killing me that they're not done, but I wanted to get all the stuff ready for Deadzone before and just really transform that. But I will get to that eventually, I promise. Mark my words. I'm going to put it on video, put it on camera. It's going to happen. But yeah, just using a cool combination of all the different things that I've changed up and modded to be more cyberpunk, and I think the result is really great. I'm genuinely very excited to keep building and changing up my setups each time, because that's one of my favorite things in this entire hobby, is just making really cool terrain boards, whether it's like nice looking tables in Kings of War or if it's, you know, cyberpunk Deadzone stuff. I just really enjoy the terrain aspect, and I really want to hopefully inspire you guys to do some stuff too. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in some videos coming up shortly. This is a great time to be a Deadzone fan.